Welcome back. In this video, we will focus on the Azure subscription, a critical component of the Azure architectural hierarchy. We will explore how subscriptions serve as the primary containers for your resources and acting as crucial boundaries for both billing and management. Let's start with the definition. An Azure subscription is a logical unit of management. Think of it as the agreement with Microsoft that allows you to provision resources. You absolutely need one to use Azure services. In fact, when you create an Azure account, a subscription is created for you automatically. However, you aren't limited to just one. Your account can hold multiple subscriptions, which gives you the flexibility to separate environments, for example, giving the marketing department its own subscription separate from sales. This separation helps you manage distinct business needs under a single account umbrella. In this diagram, you see the Azure account at the top, acting as the root identity. Branching down are multiple subscriptions labeled 1, 2, and 3. This visualizes the one-to-many relationship we just discussed. Inside each subscription, you see different types of resources, like VMs or SQL databases. This demonstrates that the subscription acts as the container for these deployed services, logically separating them from one another. To understand where subscriptions fit, we must look at the management hierarchy. Azure uses 4 levels of scope: management groups at the top, followed by subscriptions, then resource groups, and finally resources. Subscriptions sit right in the middle. They organize your resources into a structure that allows for unified policy and access management. Crucially, a subscription can only have one parent management group, creating a strict hierarchy that helps you organize your estate. As your cloud usage grows, this hierarchical structure ensures you can manage thousands of resources efficiently without losing control. This flowchart visualizes the vertical hierarchy. At the top is the purple management group, which governs the blue subscription below it. This confirms the parent-child relationship. The subscription then branches into 2 green resource groups. Finally, the resource groups contain the individual resources. This visual confirms that the subscription is the critical bridge connecting high-level governance to the actual resources you deploy. Subscriptions serve 2 primary functions, acting as a billing boundary and an access control boundary. From a billing perspective, costs are aggregated at the subscription level, allowing you to charge back costs to specific cost centers or projects clearly. From an access perspective, the subscription is a deployment boundary where you can apply role-based access control, RBAC, to govern who can touch your resources. Additionally, subscriptions define technical limits, often called quotas. If a workload needs to exceed the limits of a single subscription, you simply create more subscriptions to scale out. We use a block diagram here to separate the 2 main functions. On the left, the yellow block represents the billing boundary, containing cost aggregation and invoice separation. On the right, the blue block represents the access boundary, containing RBAC scoping and quota limits. This side-by-side view reinforces that a single subscription simultaneously handles both financial tracking and security governance. A critical architectural best practice is to use subscriptions to separate your environments. You should strictly isolate your production workloads from your non-production or dev/test environments. This isn't just for security, it's also for cost. Azure offers special dev/test pricing that provides significant savings, but you can only apply this to non-production subscriptions. We also recommend creating sandbox subscriptions for experimentation. A good starting point for most organizations is 3 core subscriptions: 1 for production, 1 for non-production, and 1 for sandbox. This class diagram illustrates the organizational strategy. The organization class at the top owns 3 distinct subscription types. The production class lists attributes like live workloads and full price. The dev test class highlights discounted price, reflecting the cost benefits. The sandbox class emphasizes experimentation. This structure visually codifies the strategy of using distinct subscriptions for distinct business phases. Governance is another key aspect of subscriptions. A subscription acts as a boundary for Azure policy application. Any policy you assign to a subscription applies to every resource group and resource inside it. However, you can also leverage inheritance. If you apply a policy to a parent management group, all subscriptions under it automatically inherit that policy. For example, you could enforce a rule that restricts virtual machine creation to only the US West region across an entire subscription. This ensures consistent compliance across your entire organization without having to configure every single resource manually. This state diagram shows the flow of policy inheritance. We start at the outer management group state, which defines policy A. Inside that, we have the subscription state. The arrows show that the resources and inner resource group automatically inherit policy A. This visualization proves that setting the rule at the top level propagates control down to the individual VMs, ensuring they are compliant. As your organization scales, manually creating subscriptions becomes inefficient. This leads us to the concept of subscription vending. This is a mechanism where the platform team programmatically creates and governs subscriptions for application teams. It effectively treats subscriptions as a product that you vend to your internal teams. By using infrastructure as code, ISC, templates, you can automate this process. This ensures that every new subscription handed out is already standardized pre-configured with the correct policies, networking, and security settings, allowing your teams to move fast without breaking governance. This sequence diagram details the vending process. The app team requests an environment. The platform team triggers automation. The automation talks to Azure to create the subscription, then applies policies to it, and finally hands the ready-to-use subscription back to the app team. This visualizes the automated lifecycle that removes manual bottlenecks. To summarize, Azure subscriptions are a core architectural component. They act as the essential container for your resources, defining clear boundaries for billing and access control. They sit firmly in the middle of the management hierarchy, organizing your estate. A successful cloud strategy involves using multiple subscriptions to strictly separate production and development environments. Finally, to manage this at scale, you should adopt subscription vending to automate the creation and governance of these subscriptions, ensuring your cloud grows securely and efficiently. Our final mind map centers on Azure subscription. It branches out into three key areas: hierarchy, showing its place between management groups and resource groups; boundaries, listing billing, access control, and quotas; and strategies, summarizing isolation, dev/test pricing, and vending. This provides a complete mental model of the subscription's role in Azure architecture.